Going on, guys? Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are coming to you with another episode of the podcast. So super duper pumped to be winding out June with a big episode. So if you're coming into this one live, team, you know what to do. Get down into the comments there and say, I'm here, I'm live. We're going to start this episode in just a touch over 2 minutes. And I've got a feeling this episode is really going to hit. So if you are in here, make sure that you get in the comments. Let me know you're ready to rock and roll in another week. And we're going to be starting in just a touch over 2 minutes. Team, how was your weekend? I know a few of you are coming in from the gym, but that's all cool. Let us know how your weekend, guys. What did you get up to? Sunny weather? Beautiful. A little bit of stomping? Beautiful. Let me know. Oh, all right. I'm super psyched. It's Sunday here in Vancouver, and the weather is absolutely beautiful. And I don't know. It's just one of those mornings where it feels good to be alive. Do you ever get those mornings where you just wake up and you're just really grateful? I hope you're having one of those mornings. All right. So who we got in here? Xanth is the first one in. Good morning, Xanth. I hope you're well. What's going on, Shauno, my brother from another mother? I hope you're well. Tez is in here as well, guys. We're starting in a minute and a half. Nikki Friend, what is going on, guys? Congratulations to you and the crew. A little cheeky, what was it, a half marathon, Nick, at the weekend? Whatever, I've lost track of what you're actually achieving, mate. It's getting crazy. Hello, Jojo. Lovely to chat to you last weekend as well. Jen's here. Good morning, Jen, or evening, I should say. Hello, Loza. What's going on, girl? You're a very valued member of this community, Loz. I want you to know that. Super important that you're in here and getting this value. G'day, Burns. What's going on, girl? I hope you're well. Back into momentum. Kaylee, hello. How are you? Guys, we're starting in just under a minute. Claire's here as well. Hello, Claire. I hope you pass on this episode to your sexy man as well. Hello, JC. Lovely to have your company here. Christine's here as well. G'day, Christine. What's going on, mate? You know what I'm going to do, guys? I reckon I'm just going to start this podcast a touch earlier. I'm jealous. Nice and cold on the coast. Yeah, totally feel that. All right, guys. I reckon we're ready to rock and roll. Hey, Toddy. What's going on, mate? On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Today's episode, we're going to be answering this little conundrum. If you lose a bunch of weight, expect this to happen. Okay? Super important episode. What I want to do is first off congratulate our Better Body Academy members, all of you that completed the push-up challenge. That was tough. There was something like just a touch over 3,000 push-ups done for the guys that did the full challenge to those that did the half challenge. Like, it was tough. So really well done. Guys, we've gone through May and June with these challenges. What we want to do now is a deload week for 1 week. We want to have 1 week where we back off, and then we're going to come hard at July with a great little challenge. More on that towards the end of the week. So let's get started in today's episode. I want to have a very deep conversation in the context of your transformation. It's important that we discuss this because near everyone does not expect this thing to happen. For anyone that has changed physically, you will know exactly what I am going to talk about here. For those who've gone on to bigger and better things and managed to master their mindset, you'll look back now and be able to recognize what I'm about to talk about here. Here is what people think. If I get something physically, then this will completely change me mentally. Okay, I'll give you some examples. If I lose weight, I will be happy. If I win the lotto, my anxieties and my depressions will go away. If I find a loving partner, my loneliness will subside. Does anyone get that? Before anyone starts a physical transformation, they go through this period of being stuck. All of us do. In most cases, it's the pain of being stuck which actually propels us into finally doing something. But the truth is, of all the people that actually start, most of them never actually commit and end up falling off. Why? I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because you don't hate your situation enough that you're willing to do the work that you don't like doing to overcome the situation. For most people, the lure of a beach body or being under 100 kilograms it's just not enough. They need to hate their status quo so much before they ever follow through. And you know what? That was true for me. I didn't hate my work enough that I was willing to quit. I didn't hate my relationship enough that I was willing to be lonely to find a better relationship. And so I stayed in these places, not getting any better and expecting things to change. And so what I want to talk about here, let's just kind of answer this question. Have you ever thought to yourself, I'll be happy when? I'll be happy when? What was it that you thought it would be for you? I'll be happy when I lose weight. I'll be happy when I get my shirt off. I'll be happy when I have money. I'll be happy when I quit my job. Whatever it is for you. Feel free to let me know in the comments what it is for you. Why are we having this conversation? Well, I'm going to tell you straight up. One of my best clients, Jason Nyes, someone tag Jace in the comments and say, this podcast's about you. He sent me a message over the weekend. I'm going to read it for you verbatim. He said, Jace, over the last couple of days, I felt really flat. I'm not really sure why. I've been eating well and working out. I have nothing to feel flat about. I'm 25 kilos down in your program. Work is busy, but good. I'm turning 41 next Wednesday. And I'm going to Cairns for a 5-day weekend with my amazing wife. But even she's noticed that I'm a bit down on myself. Have you got any wise words to pull me out of this? This is the reason I had a conversation with Jace, and I'm going to talk you through what we spoke about. Jace is confused. Why, when I have changed so much physically, am I not feeling amazing? Why, when I have lost 25 kilos, am I not happy? Why am I not feeling fulfilled? Why am I not ecstatic? Why, when I have lost so much weight, do I not feel like beyond words pumped in my mind? Who can relate to this? Let me know in the comments if you can relate to this. You've undergone this physical transformation. And Jace is wondering why he's having such unique thoughts to him. Like, guess what? As a coach, I've had this conversation 7,000 times. Maybe it's the fact that winter's just hit in Oz and, your mood goes down because you don't have the sun, and I'd understand that. But in Jace's case, I know that's not what's going on. He's lost 25 kilos. He feels that he should be feeling better, but he's not feeling better. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through that. Look, fat loss is easy when you have a good coach. It's like bulldozing a house. The house takes you 6 to 12 months to build, but it can be demolished in 5 minutes. Body fat is very demolishable. Would you agree? Physical changes can happen very, very quickly when you use some willpower and some focus in the right way. It's worth noting that when the changes slow down, if you've lost 25 kilograms and you're close to your goal, it's often a challenge staying focused. You've got to go through the reverse dieting. You've got to go through the building muscle if that's your goal. It's kind of like building a house. Demolishing the house is easy. You need patience to rebuild the house. But I don't think that's the problem for Jace. How many of you have lost weight, looked in the mirror one day and thought, who am I? Who am I? Can you imagine what this is like for Jace? I don't have his photo to show you guys, but I have posted it before. He went from having this big pregnant belly as a 40-year-old man to pretty much having no belly now. He gave up one of his best loves, which was surfboarding, because of his weight. 4 or 5 months later, after doing our program, he's now preparing to run a half marathon. He's gone from busting out of his shirts to now his shirts are big. Do you think it's possible that when you look in the mirror, you don't even recognize yourself anymore because of the physical changes that you've made. In extreme cases, we call this body dysmorphia. This is a mental condition where a person becomes fragmented about what they see in the mirror compared to how they actually are in person. And yes, men suffer this too. Women kind of get all the attention about this, but men have a specific type of dysmorphia called muscular dysmorphia, where they look in the mirror and they see themselves as like excessively thin or fat, but they're actually quite muscly and trained. I don't think Jace is experiencing body dysmorphia, but I am introducing an idea here that what we see in the mirror is a perception and not necessarily an accurate representation. And this perception we call the self-image. We call it the self-image. If you've been in BBA for a period of time, you might have heard me talk about the autopilot. People start a transformation, they lose a bunch of weight by giving up chocolate and beer and sweets. Then at a specific time during their transformation, maybe it's 2 weeks in or 2 months in, they get that old autopilot coming up. Claire Duncan, I'm speaking to you. With all the old thoughts and temptations. How long are you going to pretend to be this gym guy, Jace? How long are you not going to drink for? Why do you think that you can run a half marathon? What makes you think that you can break this yo-yo dieting scale that you've always been held hostage to? And then those so-called fucking friends, but are actually frenemies, start to throw their 2 cents into the mix. Mate, why don't you just give up? You've done this before. Right? Why don't you just come to the pub? These old mental programs of your subconscious mind convince you that you don't believe you deserve the thing that you've achieved. Does this make sense? And so you have this almost like this split personality about what you have objectively achieved. JC's down 25 kilograms. That's a fact. On a personal level, you've achieved that. But then you have your thoughts on a self-image level. Often, you're not aware of this divide that's happening. You don't have the awareness. I don't think Jace has the awareness. So he's achieved these things physically, but mentally his mind's not there. And so the outcome when you have this divide is what? In a lot of cases, it's self-sabotage. Why? Because your true identity, your self-image, always corrects like an autopilot. Always. Have you ever heard the phrase, change comes from the inside out? James Clear talks about this in Atomic Habits, the Bible. He says, if you only change what you do, not who you are, eventually what you do wins over. Who you are wins over. Your identity wins over. You always go back to your old ways. In Jace's case, and most of us, we're seeing changes in the mirror and in our life that our subconscious, our self-image doesn't support. We start a business, we do well for a while, then we fuck it up because we don't think we deserve it. We find an amazing partner. Relationship's great. Then we go home, and we start these arguments, and we subconsciously fuck it up because we don't think we deserve it. People win millions of dollars in the lottery, but they have a poor mindset, and they're broke a few years later. How else can you explain these sports stars that are hitting the jackpot in terms of money and then ending up in the pits post-retirement? That's because the physical changes that you make happen far quicker than the changes to your mindset. Your mindset might be improving, but at a slower pace than your body. And it's hard to fathom what you've achieved on a physical level. So you have this fragmentation between your identity and what you've actually achieved. You know, I love analogies. I want to give you guys an analogy. I love analogies because they make so much sense. Your body and your mindset are on a transformation. They're like vehicles going down a freeway. The freeway represents the path of your success. Your body is like a Ferrari that is speeding 150 kilometers an hour towards your goal. Jace has lost 25 kilograms in 4 or 5 months. But your mindset is like a bicycle that's like pedaling down the freeway at 15 kilometers an hour. They're both going in the right direction, but the body outpaces the mind. And this is exactly why the number one mistake that you can make is thinking that because you lost 20 kilos, I'm good now. I've changed forever. No, what you did was you used your willpower to do some stuff for a period of time. You have only changed forever once your mind, once your self-image has accepted a new identity. I'm a healthy man. I'm a healthy woman. And that takes time. One of the greatest things that, Claire Duncan here, Claire said to me when she signed up, she said, Jace, I'm going to be in the program for at least a year because I understand that this is going to take time. Claire took 2 years to get started, but it was a declaration in her intention, understanding that I can just do things for a little bit of time, but what's going to help me change is if I fully commit to the mindset journey. People come into the program, they work really hard for 6 months, and then they leave, and I see them 6 months later and they've put the weight back on again. I won't mention names, but there was one remarkable example of a guy that lost nearly 30 kilos with us, told me he didn't need to stay anymore because his mindset was rock solid. Actually, he was just really stubborn. I'm not going to name names. He didn't think I could teach him anything about the mindset component. A few of the boys saw him 6 months later. All the weight had gone back on again and he begged to rejoin the program. Like, it takes time. In Jace's case, Jace Nyes, he's lost 25 kilograms. He had an expectation about how he should feel once he's lost the weight, right? And his expectation hasn't met the reality. He doesn't feel like he thought he'd feel. So he started to question his reality. It's lucky Jace had the courage to reach out and ask his coach about this. Let me tell you something, guys. This is the fact. Losing weight is the easy part. It's the easy part. Maintaining the weight lost is the hard part. Why? Because losing weight is just a matter of using some willpower. Staying of a healthy weight and maintaining that long term, that is overriding your identity. That means overriding your entire nervous system. That takes time. You can't live a certain way for 40 years and then change that nervous system within 6 months. It doesn't work like that. Changing the mindset requires more than just willpower. So, as we bring this to a close, what can we do about this mindset thing? Because the reason I'm doing this podcast, guys, is for all of you that are losing, have lost, and I could think of all of the people in a succession of a lineup here. From Terry to Nick Friend to Linda to Coach Erin Waters, they've all had these moments where they buckled for a little bit and they were taken by surprise and it was like, shit. I want you to know when this happens, the reason why it's happening. It's because you've done physical level, incredible things. Mindset level, it's the bike pedaling up the freeway. It takes time. So what can we do about this mindset thing? Well, in order to answer the question, how do I change my mindset? It needs far more than a podcast. That's why we created a mastermind program. But suffice to say, you need to be working on your mindset as a daily habit. There's only 2 ways that I think that you can change your mindset: by changing the information that you feed it. Okay, listen up. If you want the practicalities of this session, here's what you need to do. Okay, because you get what I've talked about here. What do you do? There's two ways that you can change your mindset, and both involve changing the information that you feed it. Number one, Claire, you know what? I'm just going to interrupt and say, I really hope that you take this episode and you go and implement what I'm about to tell you right now. You need to work on your mindset every day. It doesn't just happen. You need to intentionally consume better brain food. What do I mean by this? Create vision boards and affirm them. That might be one thing. You need to set goals and intentions. You need to watch educational videos and podcasts. Here's a great example. For guys, a lot of guys like to, here's what I do. I go to YouTube and I write success motivation. That's it. Just type that in YouTube and you'll get 70 million hits. Just watch one. Doesn't even really matter the content of it. It is just you being intentional about the information that you feed yourself. So rather than listening to the shitty news, this also means stopping the consumption of garbage and instead target your mindset by working on it, by feeding it brain food. YouTube is a resource as far as I'm concerned. So the one thing you need to do, number one, is intentionally consume better stuff. Read Atomic Habits. Read or listen to things that resonate with you and the type of personality that you have that help you zone in your mindset. That's the first way. The second way is this. You have to intentionally change or cultivate an environment around you. Listen to that again. You have to intentionally change or create an environment around you. There is no greater tool for change. I'll just this isn't meant to sound conceited in any way. You're feeding yourself right now with information. Okay, I have some information in my mind. If you and I hung out every single day together, do you think over the course of a year you would be better? Why? Because I would feed you the information to change your mindset. This is why podcasts are so powerful. But you know what? Proximity is power. If you start hanging out with people, the company of people that are doing the things that you want to do, it will go from them to you. You need to get in a circle of influence of people that can influence you in the right way, not the wrong way. Everyone understands that if I hang around with the wrong people think, well, I don't want to put my kid in that school because they think that putting the kid in that school will lead to that outcome. Yet they stay in the same shit environments themselves. It's not that your friends are bad, it's that there's nothing new in that circle. So why would anything change if you don't feed it anything new? You feed your body good food, you get a good outcome. You feed your brain good food, you get a good outcome. To all of you that are in BBA, but not involving in the community, every time I say post on Facebook, you say I'm not a Facebook person. It's not about being a fucking Facebook person. It's about getting involved with other people that are doing what you want to do. And when you do that, you strengthen the connection and the bonds to when you have a tough day, you don't fall through the cracks anymore. You're held up by the buoyancy of the community. Does this make sense? It creates the leverage. You know what people do? They have a tough time. And when they have a tough time, because stuff happens in life, like it's always going to happen, they avoid the group when actually what they should do is double down on the group. When you're having a tough time, you should lean in, not lean out. There's a big difference. People say, oh, I got busy and stuff like that. I know you got busy. Lean in. Don't lean out. You should lean out when things are a little bit easier. You should lean in when things are harder. Run towards your coaches and community, not avoid them. So many people fall in the trap of, the reason we got stuck in the first place was because we tried to do everything by ourselves and hide and deal with our shit and then end up digging ourselves a hole. Would you agree? So the way out of the hole is to create more connection. You should jump on the ability to hang out with other people that are pushing themselves to do things that you want to do. Examples. if we have a local meetup to all of the boys that live on the peninsula of the Central Coast or thereabouts, if you have the ability to get along to a Sunday stomp, go. The girls run I think it's the last week of every month or the first week of every month. If you have the ability, stop finding excuses to not do it and find the excuse to do it. Because if you go, you strengthen the connection. Anyone see the photo that I posted up there yesterday? Jace made the effort because he knew that he needs to surround himself with the right people. He knew I need to work on my mindset because that's what I told him to do. So he drove all the way from the northern end of the Central Coast to come to the southern end of the Central Coast to meet. And he messaged me straight after it and he said, Jace, you are right. Going to the Sunday stomp and meeting the other boys really helped me clear my mindset. I'm going to be making an effort to get there more. Because he got to hang out with Nick and Warren Todd and the types of guys that are already doing what he is wanting to do. They've changed their mindset. Does this make sense? And lastly, if you're a dude and you're listening to this podcast and you're in Better Body Academy and you haven't got a September retreat ticket yet, like, what are you doing? This is a 3-day immersion with myself, Mike, Troy, and the elite crew like Nick and Terry and Barnes. You should be there. This is the best possible opportunity for you to double down in the mindset. And of course, Jason Nyes is going to be there. So guys, I've gone pretty deep on this, and it's a longer form episode of the podcast, but I think every single there's not a person here in our academy that's experienced long-term success that are now punching through to do bigger and greater things that at some stage didn't have that period where they were like, like physically I've done the thing, but I don't feel that great. It's not what I expected. It's just because the body can go faster than the mind at the start. The mind just needs time to turn up, okay? And the mind will turn up. The mind will catch up. The body, you're just burning fat. That happens quickly. The mind is like building up the house. It takes time. And if you're in the company of the right people for long enough, you will overcome your mindset. If I look at my sister, right? You guys in the women's group, she was a fucking mess of anxiety and depression and taking the pills and like all of that. She joined Better Body Academy as a client, and what happened? Within 6 months, complete change, rewiring of her nervous system, all of a sudden some self-worth, thinking that she could do more than go to a cafe and make coffees. Now she's helping you guys. There might be one of you here, as there was with Erin, who is the next best coach inside Better Body Academy or in some other aspect of your life. And it comes because when you show up and hang around the right people for long enough, the change happens. Equally, if you continue hanging around the wrong people, the rotten fruit spoils the rest. Which is why we're very careful for who we keep in our program long term. Guys, I'm going to cut it off there because I could literally speak about this for 13 days and it would probably get boring. The takeaway is it's going to happen. Be patient with your mindset. Be intentional, but be patient. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast. Hopefully this has been helpful. We do a lot more than just talk about nutrition and training because we know that transformation is more than just skin deep. Guys, I'll see you in the next episode. By Instagram. So team, we can, if you would like, do not a Q&A, but we can carry on the discussion here, post-podcast. Jackie says, great listen today, Jace. I've slacked off the listen to the podcast in the group. I'm missing the fire I had. Yeah, and you know what, Jack, like you're not, like we all lose the awareness. Like to be like on fire permanently that's never gonna happen. You're never gonna be in the zone all of the time. Like that's what we need to realize is that life is cyclic, right? We have periods where we feel really motivated, we don't feel motivated, we feel motivated. This is the reason why I would like to treat this week inside Better Body Academy as a deload week, because to expect that you can just do challenge, 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 and be always up, that's ridiculous. What sporting team in the world is always up? It doesn't happen. We have to have these natural downflows, but what we don't want to do is detach from the process. Do you know what I mean? Detach from the process. So does anyone have any commentary? We've still got 23 people sticking around for a chat. Does anyone have any commentary about that episode? Any feedback from Jace that they'd like to add? I don't know if any of our stompers, Toddy or Friendy or Steve, are still watching, but any kind of feedback there on the importance of getting along to those events where you can make connections. Because here's the thing, let's talk about vulnerability as an example. Most men are a wall of like, and we're talking about men here at the moment, it's the same for women. Most men are a wall of like emotional, like you're not going to get in here, right? And so they try to bake all their problems themselves and then wonder why they get depressed. You go along, you open up to one of the boys, you have a chat, you talk about the things that are frustrating you, you get an ear, and at the same time that you get an ear, you get someone that, like Nick, who's a very good listener, and rather than endorse you suffering, yeah, man, that's really shit, dude. Yeah, you should fuck your wife off. Like the typical chat of men. Yeah, she's fucking supporting the problem. Instead, it's like, hey, man, like, right. So the relationship's not where you want it to be, or your health's not what you want it to be. What are we doing, and what can we change? That's the conversation. That's the constructive conversation that can be had when you've cultivated the type of environment that you need. If you heard some of the conversations that happened between our coaching group, as an example, even within, Mikey lost a very important person in his life yesterday quite suddenly. The day before yesterday quite suddenly. The compassion and the sensitivity, and this is really, really important that you have a place to be able to deal with that. And then to those of you that are, quite strong already, like, it's not just about the vulnerabilities, it's about the pushing, right? When you see Clint Guyot, who was 30 kilos overweight, finishing a half marathon, like, you think to yourself instantly, like, if he can do it, why can't I do it? Troy, I've just taken an application off one of your mutual friends, right, who we haven't spoken to before. I'm assuming he's a mutual friend of yours. He's seen, well, if Troy can do it, why can't I do it? This is what happens when you're in the right crowd. It starts to flow through. I remember all the way back to before I started my academy, and I was just like, I have fucking no idea what to do. The moment that I saw other trainers doing it, I thought, well, if they can do it, like, why can't I do it? But if you don't have that circle, there's no one to set the standard. We talk about the 4-minute mile. It's the same thing. Shauno says, very good episode, Jace. Makes sense with Jason going through and will help me if I reach. You will reach, not if, you will reach the flat part, Shauno, because you're already losing weight in a consistent fashion. The lesson is don't lean out when that happens. Lean in. Troy Whitelam, 100%. I was at this stage a month or two ago where I didn't appreciate all that I'd done. Mainly was people around me bringing me down. I'm now 6 to 8 weeks on, learned to love the person I've become in the last 6 months. That is so beautiful, dude. And what you're doing, Troy, is you're continuing to show up. You're a busy guy. You're a business owner who is coming to the end of the financial year, and all of those things, they're all reasons that you could drop out for a little bit. Just keep your head in the game. Just like stay attached to the process, because that's the hook. That's the barb of accountability that keeps you on track. Joe says, write down your pros and cons of where your head is at. Yeah. Yep. Cons on why you have them and work out a fix. That's exactly right, Joe. Exactly right. You don't... as long as you stay up here, it becomes, the old phrase is you can't solve your problems from inside the bottle. If you, it's in our, in some check-ins, actually we still do this now that I think about it. We ask people, what do you think you need to do better? But the reality is, most people, if they knew what they needed to do better, then they'd do it. And so it's kind of a silly question to ask them, right? Ricky, yep, this one hit me. Jace, been leaning out. Dude, that's long been the thing with you, Rick. Like the reason you did the challenge and then stopped and then did the challenge, like, mate, you're wanting the accountability, and I think that, like, in your mind, it's like, I'm too busy for Facebook. Like, just pretend it's not Facebook. Just pretend it's not Facebook. Instead, dude, right, you got two options. You can try to handle all of the man tasks that you've got, plus the business stuff, on your own. Or you can try to leverage a group, like, of people to help. And what tends to happen is, I don't know about you guys, but if I spend so much time in my office by myself trying to solve my own problems in business, what typically happens is I forget what I'm trying to do in the first place. I start a bunch of tasks and then I go, that didn't fucking solve anything. I just created for myself a whole bunch of work that didn't, like, and this is where, regarding fat loss as an example, we would direct you back to, this is the trifecta framework. Don't give me all this emotional stuff here. If you're not losing weight, here is what's happening. Bang. That is important. Sean says, yeah, so in short, Ricky, yeah, lean out when you're rolling. Don't lean out when you're not rolling. Lean in. Make a commitment, Rick, that every day I will post into the group something. Just make that commitment. Don't just a simple commitment that you can really stack this week. Sean says, would journaling help also? If so, I need to start today. You don't need to start today. It's like, for example, some people look at affirmations and think that's fucking stupid, and I would totally understand that. Some people look at a vision board. I've got all these photos about my wall, and that's stupid, Jace. Like, it's almost like whatever works for I've realized that I'm a very visual person, and so if I can draw mind maps, and that helps me to think out my thoughts. But if you've got, the basics of this is that if you've got no idea what you want, then how do you move towards it? You can't. Journaling, I think, can help, Shauno, so that it helps you to articulate what you're struggling with. Most men try to deal with it up here, and then their head becomes a jumbled mess. So let's just say you have these thoughts of, like, I feel like at the moment, like, I'm not successful, and I'm not, like, whatever the thoughts are that you're having. What you would do is you would take the journal. It doesn't have to be a journal, just a piece of paper, and write out what you're thinking, and then look at each of those things and ask yourself, is that logical? In your case, Sean, you lost 10 kilos. I bet at the start of working together, Sean, you didn't believe that you could lose 10 kilos. You just hoped that there'd be something magical in this program that would work. But now you've lost 10 kilos. So one of the ways that you can kill your limiting beliefs is by busting them with logic. Sometimes I go into this, like, we're not immune to this. I go into this, it's not a spiral, but I go into a line of thinking, which is like, at 41 years old, Jace, you should have done more and you should have thought more. And subjectively, that's a feeling that I've got. But if I start to actually list out what I see to be successes for myself, like, wow, actually, like, I've done a lot. And you can do the same thing. Like, you can just bust your feelings with logic. Does that make sense? Joe says, writing shit down puts it out there for you to notice what's going on? Yeah, as a vision board, as a goal to fix it. Choose your environment. If people are being negative, fuck them off. I mean, people have a really... this might be really weird to talk about. There's a thing called Stockholm Syndrome. Okay, now I could go to Google and define it, but my understanding is, and this is like going to sound like a really weird example, but my understanding is it's when someone who has been continuously raped ends up feeling a connection and affection for their rapist. It's like a really weird example, right? In the same way, I think that a lot of people get so comfortable in an environment which is toxic to them, but the toxicity provides comfort because it provides certainty. They know what they're getting. It's not good, but they know what they're getting. Does that make sense? People stay in the comfort zone, even though it's not comfortable. It's comfortable because it provides certainty. And if you know anything about Tony Robbins' 6 human needs, and I'm not going to go through them all now, we can do a podcast on that if you want to, but one of the things that he says is one of the highest forms of things that people need in their lives is a sense of certainty about tomorrow. And so if you know that by staying where you are in your toxic workplace or your toxic health, at least it's predictable, and the predictability provides the certainty. So you can wake up tomorrow and at least just know that even though my relationship isn't great, it could be worse, and I'd prefer the devil I know. That's fucking weird, isn't it? But that's what we do. So it's all right to say that, Joe, about choose your environment, fuck the negativity off. But actually doing that is really hard, because if all of your friends or family are negative, like, that could mean a lot of uncertainty for you. Let's pretend you're in a relationship that is toxic, like a romantic relationship that's toxic, but that relationship, even though it's toxic, provides certainty, as in it's shit, but it's probably not going to get worse, even though it's probably not going to get better. It's still the better the devil you know. And so the risk of leaving that certainty is that it could get worse. And that might sound like a stupid example, but that's what I did in my work and in my relationship. I stayed in a work that was for me not giving me fulfillment, but I stayed there because I thought to myself, well, if I leave, I might end up going to a job which could be less fulfilling. I might end up going to a job that pays me less. So I put up with what I tolerated. I put up with what was given to me. In my relationship, I was, my previous relationship, I stayed in it because although to the outside world, my friends group could quite clearly see, Jace, like, are you fucking kidding yourself? Like, have a look at what's going on, man. Like, but for me, on the inside out, it was like, yeah, but it could be worse. And so I stayed in the certainty until eventually what actually happens is when you stay in that kind of zone of like, I'll be certain, I'll be secure, I'll stay here. What ends up actually happening is later down the track, it bites you in the ass nearly every single time. Make sense? Sean says, yeah, makes sense. We're journaling now. And yep, started that hoping I can, lose the weight. And now look at it, Sean. So for you, Sean, it's like, if it's not clear already, it's clear to me at least that mindset evolution is really starting to happen for you. Because you show up, you turn up, your rate of weight loss, Sean, is not what it is of other guys. And you're completely okay with that. because the direction's right and you're building habits and you're not overly restrictive. That, Sean, is a beautiful platform, mate, for like long-term life change. I'm so glad that you're coming to the retreat, bro. It's gonna be so cool to hang out with you for a few days as well. Any other comments, guys? Anything we want to discuss here? I'm surprised we've still got 20 people watching live. So I'm guessing this kind of topic hits a note. If you ever want me to try to prepare a topic that you think would be a good thing to talk about, or maybe you want my opinion or perspective on it, then by all means shoot it through. Other than that, guys, I think we'll leave it there. Have a beautiful, beautiful start to the week. Thanks for coming in and sharing your time with me. We'll chat soon.